When I was 16, my friends Evan, Jake, and I decided to rent a hotel for the night during spring break. Upon checking in, we noticed a peculiar smell in the hotel, but we decided to stay. Around 3 p.m., we headed to the pool, located in a separate area from the hotel. As we approached the pool entrance, a tall man in all black with a hood covering his face stood facing us. Though I felt a sense of panic, I kept it to myself. We enjoyed a few hours of swimming, but our unease returned when we spotted the same man, still in black, sitting by the pool. When I inquired about his presence, there was no response. Feeling a bit paranoid, I saw another figure, entirely black, at the bottom of the pool. Startled, I screamed and fled the pool area, but when I looked back, both figures had vanished. Despite my friends thinking I was imagining things, I decided to abandon the idea of swimming. Instead, we opted for dinner at a nearby restaurant. There, I encountered the man in black once more, staring at me from across the dining room. Frustrated, I confronted him, but he eluded me. Growing increasingly uneasy, I suggested leaving the next morning, but my friends were reluctant. At 10:30 p.m., we drifted off in the hotel room. I awoke to strange noises and saw a shadowy figure at the end of my bed. Initially calming myself by assuming it was my hat, I tried to sleep. However, 30 minutes later, I awoke again, this time feeling thirsty. Reaching under the bed for my water bottle, I was shocked to find my hat. Terrified, I screamed when a voice whispered, "You're a bitch," beside my ear. 2 men in black were in the room, and my attempts to fight were futile as they dragged me out. I passed out and later woke up on a stretcher, discovering I had been stabbed while unconscious. Fortunately, someone intervened, but the culprits were never apprehended. Since that incident, I've kept a nightlight on to alleviate my fears. I used to reside in a small town, but attended high school in a much larger city. Despite the urban surroundings, I never ventured out alone due to a lack of reason and nerves. However, when my 2 friends suggested hanging out in the city, I hesitated but decided to join them, thinking, why not? I'll be with them. After school, we had a great time for a few hours, encountering some mildly unsettling incidents. These included navigating through a store filled with expensive statues and gemstones with a bulky backpack on my back, and having to switch plans to Subway when our intended restaurant was closed. As darkness fell, we all acknowledged the need to head home. We enjoyed one last store and then went our separate ways. Alone in the dark outside the store, I waited, not overly fearful at first. I had informed my mother of my location, but her poor sense of direction led me to expect a prolonged wait. Spotting a news camera outside the store brought me a sense of reassurance. About 10 minutes into my wait, 2 men approached me. My memory is hazy due to my anxiety, but this is what I recall. One of them asked, "Hey, do you know where," name of a town that I can't remember, is? Feeling nervous already, I shook my head. The situation intensified when one of the men coaxed, "Aw, come on. Listen, we'll give you a bag of jewelry if you help us." Panic set in as I scanned my surroundings and noticed the news camera. I edged closer to its line of sight. Stammering, I replied, Listen, I think it's that way, and I don't need anything," pointing in a random direction. They glanced where I pointed, then back at me. "Can you show us?" "Again, we have a bag of jewelry," one of them insisted. My heart raced as I declined, mentioning that my mom was on her way to pick me up. After a few seconds of staring, they nodded, thanked me, and walked in the direction I had indicated. I remained visible to the news camera until my mother arrived. It took a full week for me to fully relax. I couldn't fathom why they were so eager to give me that bag of jewelry. My initial thought was that they had stolen it and were attempting to divert the police by passing some of it to me. Alternatively, they might have been trying to lure me away with the jewelry. Regardless, I felt uneasy in the city alone at night ever since, even though it's been 2 years, and I now live in a decently sized city for college. This incident occurred when I was 11 years old in the 6th grade. Typically, I'm a quiet student who listens to my teachers, but one day during my 6th period gym class, something unsettling happened. As we were running laps, we reached the end where there was a big fence. While running, I noticed a 30-year-old guy waving with a weird grin. I couldn't tell if he was waving at me, so I continued running. Gym class ended, and as I was leaving the school gate, I spotted the same guy. Now he wasn't grinning. He was smiling, and this change made me uneasy. I started speed walking, feeling scared. After I distanced myself from the school, I looked back and didn't see him, which provided some relief. However, a blue car pulled up next to me, and the driver, whose face I couldn't see, complimented me, saying I looked like a nice and smart kid. I thanked him, but then he mentioned my full name, leaving me shocked. When he rolled his window down completely, I recognized him as the same guy with the creepy smile. I ran, and when I glanced back, his car was still there. Fortunately, I was only 5 minutes away from home, so I kept running. Upon reaching my house, I was sweating, my hands were shaking, and I locked all doors and windows before sleeping in my bed. Later, at 11:32 p.m., I woke up feeling thirsty. As I went to get water from the fridge, I heard a knock. Peeking through the window, I saw the smiling guy holding an item, which I couldn't identify due to the darkness. Terrified, I ran to my parents' room, but it was locked. Frantically banging on the door, I woke them up, explaining about the creepy guy outside our house. My dad investigated, but by the time he reached the window, the guy was gone. However, he heard a sound and stayed with my mom. Suddenly, there was a scream, prompting my mom to call the police. When they arrived, my dad held the man down, who had a kitchen knife and was attempting to break my window. The police arrested him, and 2 days later, they provided my dad with information. It turned out the guy had been stalking me, watching me from my window and following me from school. Despite my attempts to share the story with friends, they didn't believe me. Now, at 14 years old, I can't help but wonder what might have happened if I hadn't told my dad, as the guy could have broken my window and harmed me.